I just bought 118 million Pepe because I think Pepe has so much potential. Let me talk about why I decided to buy Pepe and why I think Pepe could explode beyond all-time highs, potentially competing with both Shiba Inu and Dogecoin. Let's dive into it. You might be wondering, where do I think Pepe could go? Before we dive into that, I think we need to talk about where Pepe is right now. You can see right now with Pepe, sitting about $386 million market cap with just over $100 million of 24-hour volume. When we compare this, for example, to Dogecoin, you can see Dogecoin about $8.5 billion market cap, about $260 million of trading volume. Shiba Inu, almost identical trading volume, market cap just about $4 billion. So significantly larger for both these compared to Pepe. Now, something that we've been talking about on this channel before is how Pepe is down a lot from all-time highs. That's not a surprise to anybody, but I think this is actually a good thing. Let me explain what I mean by that. When we take a look at Pepe price right now from these all-time high prices, you can see down about 75%, pretty massive decline. This is leading a lot of people to say Pepe is dead. This is the end of Pepe. However, I think Pepe has a lot of more potential in it, which is why I went ahead and bought some more Pepe. You can see this buy order right behind me. We're going to buying Pepe, buying that 118 million different Pepe. I'm going to keep dollar cost averaging. Obviously, this is not a lot of money going into Pepe, but my goal here is dollar cost average. I'm not going to buy all in on Pepe at a single price point. That would be very detrimental to my portfolio, because if you guys remember, we had a buy threshold right up here initially. This price range was about the 1-1 price range. Right now we're down about 20% since that point. So if I had bought all in at that point, this would have been a big problem for me. Instead, my point here is for me personally with what I want to do. Of course, make sure you guys do what's best for you. I'm talking about my personal experience here. For me personally, I feel like dollar cost averaging is better. So spend $100 here, $100 there. Eventually you end up having a few $1,000s worth of Pepe. And then if it goes back to all-time highs, my hope is for my portfolio, right? We go back to all-time highs from right here. You're looking at basically a 300% gain. Absolutely massive gain potential here for Pepe if we can go back towards those all-time highs, which is my goal. Now, I think Pepe is coming up very soon here on a critical moment. What I mean by that is if we zoom in on the price, this looks really small in the grand scheme of things, but we zoom in and make this bigger. You guys can see this right above me. These different support and resistance levels. You can see we went past this one, we dropped down in value, going below, now we're within this range. After that, there's really not a lot of support and resistance. There's a little bit right here. So we could potentially drop down to this price range, which you're looking at basically the 8.4 level. But after that, you don't really have anything. It pretty much went straight up. There's a little bit of stability right in here. We saw a little bit of stability going on. Not a ton though. That's at about the 7 level. And then after that, again, we just saw this explosive growth for the price of Pepe initially. Your next support level is down at the 4 level. You're basically looking at just over a 50% reduction from this current price. And so my thought here, I think Pepe probably will touch along this line right here again at about that 7.3 level. But what's important in my opinion is at that point, I think we're going to hit a critical moment. Either Pepe at that point is going to reverse trend. We're going to see Pepe start to go skyrocketing back towards the all-time highs, or Pepe is going to fall dramatically down to this lower price level, basically representing a 90-something% loss in value for Pepe. So a massive change. You might be looking at my buy here line. My target really, and this is why my target is pretty much at this line right here, because I think that's going to be critical. Either Pepe is going to explode in value or it's going to go down. But again, this is why I'm dollar cost averaging, because if Pepe does go down, drops 50% in value, if I have a few $100s of Pepe, I can buy more at a lower price and it's okay. I'm dollar cost averaging. This is why, in my opinion, I prefer dollar cost averaging over just all in on something. I'd rather miss out on some gain potential than end up wrecking my portfolio. I'd rather preserve capital than risk, try and go for the big gain. So that's my personal priority. But this is why I'm looking at this price point to try and buy Pepe. And I think it's possible. We've been seeing a slow decline in the value of Pepe. So another 20% decline is not that insane. If we get some more SEC news, things like that, different regulatory risks come up, maybe economic things happen, we have the Federal Reserve meeting come up, a lot of these different things could definitely impact the price of Pepe, bringing it down 20%, or again, maybe it skyrockets up, which is why I've been dollar cost averaging. And so why do I think Pepe could explode back to all-time highs? That's obviously the critical question here, right? Because I'm saying either, in my opinion, I think it's either going to drop down like 50% in value, which is massive, or I think we're going to go back towards all-time highs. Well, why do I think it could go back towards all-time highs? Well, first, let's talk about why I think it could go down in value a little bit more here. Just one more point I want to highlight there before we dive into why I think it could go back to all-time highs. We've been on this decline in value for Pepe. We've seen a lot of Pepe consolidation that's been happening and not a huge spike in interest, not a spike in the on-chain holders. When we go ahead and take a look at the on-chain holder data on Etherscan, we can see there's not really been a significant change for a while. We're at about 117,000 holders, we've been around this level for quite some time. So we're not seeing a ton of new people come into Pepe and a ton of interest yet, which is why I think maybe it continues to fall off in price. Now, why do I think it's going to go up, right? The big question that you guys are probably here for today, make sure you subscribe down below before we get into it. The reason why I think so is I believe in a contrarian point of view. A lot of people are talking about, well, Pepe is down 70%. Is this the end of Pepe? Is Pepe over? Pepe is dead. It's dropped so much in value. A crypto's down 50%. It's dead. It's never going to recover. I think it's important to highlight a couple things. Something that we talked about a lot on this channel is we compare to Shiba Inu and Dogecoin. There's something I want to show you guys. I haven't really pointed out in this way before, and maybe this will help highlight some maybe misunderstanding that we've seen before. We saw Shiba Inu originally peak off right here. It looks really small, right? But this is basically a $9 billion market cap for Shiba Inu. This was early May or mid-May, and then it started seeing explosive growth towards the end of October. You can see that timeline right in here. When you compare that to Dogecoin, Dogecoin peaked out at basically the beginning of May. So Shiba Inu's first initial peak was basically right here for Dogecoin, okay? Remember that. That's important to remember. Then Shiba Inu declined in value, but was still in the 25+ billion dollar market cap, so still massive. And then we see that Dogecoin ended up peaking off again, or this next little peak right in here in August. If we go ahead and fast forward over to October, you can see another little peak at about the $40 billion market cap. Now, why is this important? When people saw Shiba Inu peak and then decline, because it went from about 8 all the way down to about 3, massive decline in value, pretty much similar to what Pepe is doing right now. People probably said, this thing's dead. It's never going to overtake Dogecoin because it's all the way down here at $4 billion market cap. Well, Dogecoin is around 40. There's no way this thing's going to overtake Dogecoin. It's never going to happen. Then after it was stable for a while, again, remember, this is a few months of time span in here where we're seeing this low price point. Then after that, it saw this explosive growth where it actually overtake Dogecoin. It went up to $41 billion end of October, whereas Dogecoin peaked out just below $40 billion. So we can see Shiba Inu actually overtook Dogecoin. But when you look at that price point, a lot of people probably said this thing is over, just like they're saying with Pepe. People probably said this thing's never going to overtake Dogecoin. This cryptocurrency is dead. Shiba Inu is never going to be a thing again. It's going to be worth $0 in a year from then. People are probably super pessimistic about Shiba Inu. And I think that's how people are looking at Pepe right now. It's important to note that most cryptocurrencies don't do this. Most cryptocurrencies don't do what Shiba Inu did, where it sees this massive decline in value and then ended up shooting back up from that point, decline in value, shot back up way beyond the previous all-time highs. Most cryptocurrencies don't do that, but also I think it's important to note, most cryptocurrencies don't do what Pepe did. We can go ahead and see Pepe went from basically nothing all the way up to over a basically $1.6 billion market cap within a month, pretty much. Most cryptocurrencies don't do that. Most cryptocurrencies are lucky if they hit maybe multi 10-figure million dollar market caps, like maybe 20 to 50 to even $80 million market caps. Most cryptocurrencies are extremely lucky to hit those kind of thresholds within their first month of being launched, whereas Pepe went from 0 to over $1 billion market cap within 1 month. Pepe is an exception to the rule, which I think Pepe has the potential to also see this explosive growth that Shiba Inu had, where it also pretty much just exploded out of nowhere. Same with Dogecoin. Sure, it had some value beforehand, but it pretty much went from almost nothing beforehand, because if we zoom out, you guys can see this. It was basically nothing, a few $100 million, and then exploded to billions of dollars of value. I think Pepe has proven that has explosive growth potential, and I think that's why Pepe has the potential to explode beyond all-time highs, taking over potentially Dogecoin and Shiba Inu. I know it's going to be hard. I know it's not going to be easy. I know it's not guaranteed to happen, but if it does happen, the gains on Pepe would be absolutely massive, because again, Pepe right now at about $380 million market cap. If you overtake Shiba Inu, you're looking at a 10x, and if you overtake Dogecoin, for example, you're looking at over a 20x gain potential, which I think is entirely possible. And this is why I am so optimistic on Pepe, and I think Pepe has so much potential. If you want to learn more about the potential for Pepe, check out this video up here, and I'll catch you on the next one.